Welcome to Historical Airsoft. Right off the bat, I'd like to thank you all for 700 subscribers. At the time of recording this, there are 699, but I'm just going to count that as 700. So thank you all for the continual support. We'll continue to put out good content for you. So for today's video, we're going to be taking a look at two different Zeltbahns, one produced by At the Front and the other produced by Hessen Antique.
Alright, so for those of you who do not know, this is a Zeltbahn. So a Zeltbahn is a big triangular piece of material, waterproof material, that was issued out to German soldiers during World War II. It has one side for fall, with the camouflage pattern being slightly different, and one for summer, where the colors are a little bit brighter. The Zeltbahn had multiple different purposes. It could be used as a shelter, either individually, or you could put a bunch of them together and use them as a tent, or it could be worn as a poncho, which I will now demonstrate.
Here's an example of wearing the Zeltbahn like a poncho. The Zeltbahn I'm wearing right now is the one made by At the Front, and I'm wearing it on the fall side, fall and winter side. As you see it right here, the Zeltbahn is underneath all the gear. Usually they would wear it like this when using the Zeltbahn specifically for camouflage protection. Unlike the SS, individual soldiers in the German army were not usually issued a camouflage smock. So in situations where they would like to be camouflaged, they would often wear the Zeltbahn specifically as camouflage garment. Other times you would see soldiers wearing the Zeltbahn on top of all their gear, over the top of it during rain and other weather to prevent getting all of their stuff wet, which makes a lot of sense. Also, right now, I have the sleeves, or not the sleeves, but there's a lot of material where your arms come out when you wear it like this. And it's nice to roll that up a little bit, keep it under control when you're not trying to keep yourself from getting wet. But if it was raining, I'd probably want to keep the sleeves down. You can see also, I have the collar sticking out of the top of the Zeltbahn. There are pictures of soldiers doing this. However, you do not need to do this. It's just a personal preference sort of thing.
Alright, now the reason that you guys came to this video, the comparison between the two Zeltbahns. This one right here is the one by ATF. You can get it for about 125 bucks off their website, and that's the one by Hessen Antique. You can get it for about 80 bucks. So there is a $40 price difference between the two, and a lot of the differences in quality that we're going to talk about are fairly apparent because of that $40 gap. Right now, both of the Zeltbahns are switched to the winter/fall side. So the center color, or the base color, is a little bit darker than it is on the summer side. It's probably a little bit hard to tell in this lighting. If I fold it over like this, you might be able to tell a little bit. The green is a bit lighter on the summer side, and the weaker color in the middle is a little bit of a darker tint on the fall side right there than on the summer side right here. The camouflage pattern is where the first problem with the Hessen Antique Zeltbahn comes up. I'm going to pull these over each other. So, all German military equipment during World War II that was printed in splinter camouflage pattern was printed in such a way that the splinters were on top of the rest of the colors. So they started with printing the base color, the neutral center color, then they printed the brown and green respectively, and then finished off with the splinters. So the splinters are on top of the rest of the pattern across the entire surface of the Zeltbahn, or whatever piece of equipment it was that was being produced with the splinter camouflage pattern. However, on the Hessen Antique one, they started with the base color, then they went to green, then they printed the splinters, the vertical lines, and then they printed the brown. You can see that the splinters do not come over the brown like they should on the Hessen Antique one. You can see through, underneath the brown material, the brown print, there is the splinter. So it was just a matter of printing it in the right order, and they messed it up, which is quite unfortunate. That is probably the biggest problem with the Zeltbahn's pattern on this side. While we're on this side, we might as well talk about the seam that comes down the middle. So, as you can see right here, there's this seam that stitches the two sides of it together, that comes all the way down from top to bottom of the Zeltbahn. Of course, it's repeated the same way on the Hessen Antique one. However, the quality is lacking considerably. You noticed on the ATF one, the stitches were very clean and there wasn't any material hanging off the side, while there is extra material on the Hessen Antique one. You could probably trim it down to make it look a lot better. Alright, I've now gone ahead and switched both Zeltbahns to the summer side. Again, it's virtually identical to the other side, except the colors are a little bit brighter. It's overall a different tint for a different season. And this is where the next big issue with the Hessen Antique Zeltbahn comes in. The overall color is definitely not where it should be. You can see on the at the front Zeltbahn, the color of the first print, the base color, is, it's different from the other side, but not extremely different. Here's the winter side you saw last time, and there's a good comparison. On the Hessen Antique one, the colors are vastly different. It's almost purplish on the summer side, when it should just be a little bit lighter than on the winter side. So that is definitely super weird. As you can see, the color of the base area is a lot different than it should be, and it should be a lot brighter. Also, the same problem that we mentioned last time of the pattern being printed in the wrong order is repeated on this side. On At the Front's website, they say that quote-unquote, this run of the Zeltbahns have original buttons on them. However, I'm not sure what this run means. I'm not sure if that was put on their website with the product years ago and they'd never updated it, or if that really does pertain to this particular Zeltbahn. ATF gets a lot of traffic and a lot of reenactors get their equipment from ATF, so that's why it's a little bit uncertain for me as to whether or not the buttons that are on this are actually original buttons, or if they're just reproduction buttons and they never changed it. I'm not sure. I couldn't tell you for sure about that one. The buttons on the Hessen Antique one are simple enough. They're slightly different from the ones that are on the ATF one. You can see the ATF buttons are almost like a little bowl with holes in the bottom, and the Hessen Antique ones are more just like a circular disc, and then again with a little hole in the center for the thread holes. I do not know much about the buttons on Zeltbahns. I wouldn't be surprised if different factories use different buttons. They were produced all over the place, and there's no way that that was something that they insisted on being standardized. So those buttons could very well be correct. I'm not sure. I'm not too much of a button guy. One thing that the ATF Zeltbahn has that the Hessen Antique one does not have is a Teflon coating. If you don't know what Teflon is, it's a waterproofing material for fabric. So at the front one, while the actual feel of the material is right where it should be, and fairly consistent with the Hessen Antique one, it is significantly more waterproof, which if you are going to be making a tent out of this thing and sleeping in it, or using it for cover in the rain, is definitely something that you want. Right now I'm going to go ahead and just pour some water over the top of both Zeltbahns to show you what a difference it makes to have the Teflon coating on the ATF one. As you can see, all the water pools right in there and then slides right back off. The waterproof material does a really good job of keeping the water out. You can see water droplets form just right on it. Don't sink into the material nearly at all. We're going to do the same thing on the Hessen Antique one. As you can see, it has the same base effect, which shows that it is fairly waterproof. But right off the bat, you can see the water starting to sink into the material, making it pretty wet, which definitely wouldn't be a lot of fun if you're wearing this thing out in the field trying to keep warm and dry.
Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you were going to make a decision between the ATF and the Hessen Antique Zeltbahn, I personally would go with the ATF one. It is a bit more expensive, which is a turnoff for a lot of people, but I think that the quality that you get with the additional money that you're spending is very much worth, the extra money that you're spending. The waterproof material on the ATF one is, definitely something that you want for a product that is, designed to keep water off of you, whether you're sleeping or wearing it about. And the problems with the camouflage pattern printed on the Hessen Antique one is another big turn off for me personally. and I would want to pick the one that had the best camouflage pattern, so I know that I look the best and I look as accurate and realistic as I can while I'm out in the field. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all have a great day.